time in a long time, the personal seems to have become the political. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has launched the Mission India Clean campaign for 2019, which talks about, in just 1 year, building toilets in all schools, all government schools. Already we are hearing corporates pledging 100 crores just for this toilet campaign, and hearing amazing stories of women who are returning from their marital homes because they don't have toilets. So let me introduce the panel that we have here this evening here at the Habitat Center. We have Professor Ashis Nandy, sociologist. We have Dilip Cherian, who is an image consultant and an expert of toilets and sanitation issues, Dr. Bindeshwar Pathak. He's the founder of Sulabh International. Now, the first talking point that I wanted to ask of our panelists is what is going to be the impact of what the Prime Minister is talking about, of making cleanliness a top priority. Dr. Pathak, you were saying how it's for the first time since Gandhi that you're hearing words like this.
Actually, Gandhi, while fighting for the freedom, he said, I want clean India first, independence later on. And after Gandhi, such a strong voice has come from the present Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi.
First time after him?
For the first time. Others have spoken. I cannot say they have not, but not the way he has taken up, the way Gandhi took it. So that I am telling you. He gave the emphasis to sanitation, even the independence. How can I think of? A person is fighting for the freedom of the country, and that he is telling, I want clean India first. And the way Narendra Modi has taken it up, the same way, he says that in 5 years, we want to make India clean.
Okay.
So that is, I think, most important, that he has aroused now to the entire country to think about sanitation.
Okay, Professor Nandy, what's your take on it?
Well, our national ambition is to keep India dirty. So this is a tough job. And Gandhi saying it is one thing, and Mr. Modi saying it in this context, today's India, is another. I take all statements of politicians with a bucket full of salt,
yes,
not a pinch.
Yes.
So I would wait to see. If Bindeshwar Pathak had said this, I would have taken it more seriously, because he has spent his life on it.
Yeah.
This is something, this is the project which takes a different kind of dedication, because it doesn't pay you political dividends.
Right.
People don't notice it.
But wouldn't you say, to be fair, that Modi in his first speech in Banaras, he talked about cleaning Banaras. In his later speeches, as soon as he came into office, he talked about cleaning up then as well, talked about the files, talked about all his bureaucrats cleaning up. So hasn't he maintained, it's the third or fourth time, isn't it, hasn't he?
Yes, but I would like to give the best possible interpretation to it. I would like to believe that he is serious, but the rest of the country is not serious. People are perfectly comfortable, in Banaras particularly, they are perfectly comfortable with dirt. They have lived with that for generations.
Yes.
And they don't distinguish between the dirty and the clean.
Okay.
That's the part of the problem.
Dilip Cherian, Dr. Pathak seems to have taken one view, Professor Nandy another one. Do you have a middle path on this?
You know, my feel is that there is no getting away from this unhappy fact that Modi speaking about toilets from the ramparts of the Red Fort means that there's a lot of attention globally as well as domestically onto this issue.
Yes.
So suddenly everybody's conscious of the fact that we are exactly as Dr. Nandy says, a dirty country. But I have a feeling that this is a man who has an element of psychology in his plan. The idea of making schools get toilets initially and getting every MP to fund the schools in his constituency is a great one, because once kids start getting used to having a toilet in their schools, they will start asking questions at home, saying, why do I have to go out? I'm not saying it'll clean up India, but certainly the approach to defecation at a mass psychology level, because young minds are the most impressionable.
Yeah.
The fact that you start to give them this expectation that a school implies having a toilet, and that your MP is supposed to pay for it, allows entitlement versus expectation to come into play.
But you know what's interesting is that you're still talking about the fact that even if it doesn't happen, that's the kind of message sending out. So is it still messaging? And when you talk about young minds, I want to ask some of the young minds, young students that we have over here, who's really, really impressed by what he said? Is there someone who's you're really impressed? Why is that? Why are you impressed?
Because cleanliness is the first priority of any nation. It is the foundation, and if he's talking about it, it's really very good because India needs to be really clean. I think about that. Yeah.
India needs to be very clean.
Yeah, it needs to be. People know about cleanliness. They don't just implement.
And anyone who is not too impressed with it, you're not too impressed. Why aren't you impressed?
It is not that only Narendra Modi have spoken about cleanliness. There are many ministers and political leaders who have...
That's a good point.
Who have talked about it. But what about the implementation? Are we like really affected what they said? It is on us that how much the speeches and all affects us. Yeah. Like we're in a urge to implement them.
Okay, so let's take this to Professor Pathak. Professor Pathak, I wanted to ask you, as someone who's covered government, that this has been talked about, toilets have been talked about. Not just Jairam Ramesh, who actually went into a lot of controversy because he said it's more important, toilets are more important than temples, something that Modi also reiterated, but someone who wasn't talked about that much, but Dr. Raghuvansh Prasad. So when you are all impressed, Dr. Pathak, what about what the other ministers did?
No, they also tried their own way. I cannot say they did not. Raghuvansh Prasad, Jairam Ramesh, also they did in their own way. But the way Prime Minister Modi has said in that country.
How does he take it forward is what I want to ask.
Only because this, what he has asked the country to come together to fight against dirt and filth. It is not only toilet. Toilet is the beginning of the beginning. But now let's see that girl said, unless you are clean, how you can live in the environment? Suppose your house is full of dirt. How can you live there? So therefore, he says...
Do you see actionable elements there, sir?
Yes, because now see, when...
give us an instance of the actionable.
I'm telling you, when Gandhi fought for the freedom, he was not alone. And millions and millions of people came on their own. There was no any job and no anything like this and any assignment to any job for those. So whole country came, fought for the freedom and got it.
Yeah.
So now this, what Modi has said, is against the freedom from dirt and filth. And the entire country had to come. They had to decide what to do. Every citizen has a right to, suppose go to my campus, just see the campus. Go to my school.
Yes.
My school toilets are maintained by teachers and students.
But what about what Dr. Nandy said? And that's where I want to bring in our second talking point, that a lot of surveys have pointed to the fact that there is an attitude problem of people wanting mobile phones more than toilets. Professor Nandy, do you think that is something that if the government indeed is serious about this agenda of Clean India agenda by 2019, they have to fight this attitude?
Yes, that attitude as well as the wholeness of the entire enterprise in a country where a significant proportion of schools exist only in paper. They don't have a school building at all. So if you build a toilet, only the toilet will be the school. This is India.
Build the school and toilets also. That is right.
So that is the problem. I mean, once you begin to look into this, and you know that it cannot be a centralized effort.
You know, it's interesting when you talk about the schools. We have a young lady over here who is in college, but you actually worked with our Right to Education campaign, right? And what did you find in schools and toilets? Tell us about that.
I work for an NGO, and due to that we got an opportunity to look at the things at the root level, like what the reality is. We went to the schools and observed the toilets there, and they were not only filthy, they were not even in usable form. So we asked the children, like students, how do you manage that? They said like we use a teacher's toilet, which was not, like obviously not available to them all the time. In case of emergencies, they had to manage elsewhere, or they had to rush back home.
How many such schools did you see?
I have surveyed around 5 to 6 schools, and there was not even a single school which had a toilet.
And this is in Delhi?
Yeah, Delhi school, one district we surveyed, and not even one school which we can say was up to the mark with the clean and good toilet, usable form toilet.
Dilip Cherian,
come to my school. I've seen that. You have skipped that attention. So please come and see, and how we have made compulsory. Gandhi is coming back now. Why? Because what Gandhi used to say, he should do also. So if my school is dirty, I run a school for the little children. So if my school is dirty, toilet is dirty, then how I can come here on the NDTV to tell others
obviously
keep clean?
Dilip
So
Cherian, obviously there is a attitude problem, and when Narendra Modi says it, yeah.
I carried homelesskita on my head for 2 days to know the pains of the untouchables. I did myself to how they used to feel about. So what Modi is telling now, the entire country should feel the pain of the dirtiness.
And do you think they will?
Yes, and then it's come forward to clean it, to clean it.
That, you know, the good thing about this is that when it comes from the top, we are a nation which believes in the Mukhya and what he says. So ministers and sundry chief ministers saying it is not the same as a prime minister. So let's hope that this is a guy who the country is pinning a lot of hopes on. Toilets is only one of the many hopes. You know, he wants to make things in India. He has lots of plans. But cleanliness figuring in his top agenda means that it's going to be taken pretty seriously. And this is also a country which for the first time he has control over 270, 80 MPs. So he can jolly well direct them to do what he's doing.
For instance, the MP lad which he said for 1 year spent only on school toilets. That is the diktat that he gave from Red Fort. Spend 1 year, build all the toilets. You think things like that is going to work because of the just sheer might of being...
I think that the problem that the girl talked about would be addressed by doing it in a few schools.
Okay.
Because, you know, I deal in the world of marketing and images. I say that the moment a good school has it, other schools start demanding it. Then what Dr. Pathak said off camera was that you need to have bank loans for it. You need to allow other kind of institutional framework.
Yeah.
And first of all, you need to have the schools, which Dr. Nandi suspects exist. But at least the schools that exist, the MP will jolly well have to make sure that he gives them or she gives them a toilet. And I think that'll create some kind of a psychological impact across the country.
And as people, because, you know, Dr. Pathak has seen this as a professional, but what is the new thing that, you know, because clean toilets and toilet as a thing has been a political thing for quite some time. Is it because Narendra Modi brings it and talks about it first before anything else that people are quite impressed?
You know, there is the first impression is always the one which makes the most impact. The fact that he had the guts to talk about it at Red Fort, where most prime ministers would gingerly talk about statesman-like subjects, and he brought it down right to the ground, is a good thing.
Okay.
And I think that's a start. Okay. And this country needs to start somewhere at the bottom rather than stay dirty and wallow with the dirt.